Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
Thrive Suite Productions. It's January 16th, and for this one, we are opening up some old, creaky, leather-bound history books and going back to 1905. Did you know that hockey's Stanley Cup was a Challenge Cup for a period of time? From 1893 through 1914, the cup was awarded to the top hockey team in Canada, but that team could be challenged to play for the cup by another top team, and sometimes were asked by several teams throughout a year to defend the cup against a challenge. Well, on this day in 1905, it was Game 2 of the best-of-3 series between the Ottawa Silver Seven, the forerunners of the Senators, and the Dawson City Nuggets. The Silver Seven were the current cup holders and were challenged by Dawson City in the summer of 1904. The challenge was accepted, and the series was set up to begin in January 1905. Now, forget about what you know now about best-of-3 series, where each team gets at least one home game. No matter how near or far, back then the current cup holders hosted the series. And hockey historians wonder why Dawson City's challenge was allowed to go forward, since they did not hold any championship titles. But it was. Now, if you're thinking that I'm setting you up for some kind of David beats Goliath tale, I am not. It was a slaughter by every definition of the word, except in a literal sense. But before we get to that, imagine this. The Dawson City Nuggets were from the Yukon mining territory, and Ottawa is nowhere close to that. And if you are as challenged by Canadian geography as I am, then it will help to know that Dawson City is in northwest Canada, very near Alaska, and due east of Fairbanks, while Ottawa is due north of Syracuse, New York. It was a journey of more than 4,000 miles, and again, this is 1905, where traveling was a bit different. First, it was a 330-mile journey by sled dog to catch a train. The men all wore blisters on their feet from walking and running behind the sled dogs for a good portion of that first leg to Whitehorse, where they caught a train to Skagway, Alaska, which is on the coast, so they could take a steamer to Vancouver. But the team was 2 hours late and their ship had sailed already. They were stranded for 5 days in Skagway, waiting for another one. After they made it to Vancouver, the team boarded another train on January 6th for the 5-day journey across Canada, arriving in Ottawa on the 11th, and then the first game was scheduled to be on the 13th. Ottawa refused to move the dates. So, how did that first game go? Not great for Dawson City. Ottawa won 9-2. Game 2 was set up for January 16th, and the game that prompted today's episode. Ottawa had a player by the name of Frank McGee, and he dominated the action in Game 2, scoring a total of 14 goals as Ottawa won 23-2, and they held on to Lord Stanley's Cup. That 23-2 score was the most lopsided result in Challenge Cup history. So the team that dog-sled, walked, ran, tramped on trains and a steamer for nearly a month played 2 games and lost by a combined score of 32-4. Oh, and Ottawa treated Lord Stanley's Cup about like they treated the Nuggets. In celebrating their cup defense, one Ottawa player attempted to boot the trophy over the Rideau Canal, but failed, and the cup crashed into the ice below and remained there until the following day. Also on this day in 1972, the Dallas Cowboys won Super Bowl VI, beating the Miami Dolphins 24-3. And in 1970, baseball's Curt Flood filed his civil lawsuit against Major League Baseball, challenging the reserve clause. If you would like to learn a little bit more about that, check out the December 24th episode of This Day in Sports History, when Flood initiated his challenge unofficially in a letter sent to Commissioner Bowie Kuhn. That's all for today. More tomorrow on This Day in Sports History.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.